Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Lecture podcast. Today we have our special guest, CJ Bell. Graduated from University of Delaware in 2017. After graduation, CJ played multiple roles as both the federal and state level of U.S. Senator Tom Carpenter and Governor Carney. Through those experiences, CJ developed a keen insight for the state of Delaware, as well as learning the essentials of networking and maintaining a work-life balance. Currently, CJ serves as the Director of Economic Development for Newcastle County. While his career is mainly geared towards the political field, CJ has a special passion for increasing the young professional presence in the state of Delaware. This passion is fulfilled by policy research, legislative advocacy, and event planning. CJ is the Senior Planner for the Connect, a grassroots organization geared towards supporting young professional retention in the state of Delaware. They specialize in connecting young professionals and entrepreneurs with political and community leaders throughout the state. The main objective is to build the next young professional hub in the state of Delaware. And we're excited to go beyond the lecture with CJ Bell. CJ, welcome to Beyond the Lecture podcast. We're so excited to have you here on today. Thank you for joining us, and we're going to get started. So we're going to have a little bit of fun first. Cool. So, song you have on repeat?
Big X The Plug, Take Care, first song on the album.
Okay.
Playing that a lot these days. Glorious, however you want to say it. The album is on repeat for sure.
What song? What's your favorite song right now?
I'm gonna say Hold On right now. Hold on is my favorite right now.
I like Hold On.
Hold On is my favorite.
Favorite brand of sneaker?
Favorite brand of sneaker? I barely wear sneakers these days. I'm gonna say Jordan.
Okay. Well, which ones? You can't just say Jordan, right?
Go with the Flint 13s.
Okay, all right.
Flint 13.
All right. Book you're reading right now, if any?
Book I'm reading right now. I'm blanking on the name. My favorite book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, that's
by
good.
Dale Carnegie.
By Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. All right. Last one. Little controversial.
Okay.
Jay-Z or Nas?
I'm going with Nas, man. I'm going with Nas.
Thank
and
you
I
so
already
much for
see
being a
what type
guest on the
time we gonna be.
Thank
I already see how tough this going to be today.
We will find someone site. All right, you can go with Nasir Jones. That's fine.
You know,
that's fine.
You know,
although showing Corey Carter. All right, so now we're going to kind of get into. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up in this seat, how you ended up in the role that you're in, and just kind of your journey.
Okay, so for those that don't know, I'm the Director of Economic Development for Newcastle County. What that entails is a lot of like helping businesses scale. So, you know, everything from your mom and pop to, you know, your insights. But those are the type of businesses that I help. I help them grow anywhere from dealing with permit issues to expansion of job personnel, et cetera, et cetera. The Connect, which is my 5 to 9, I like to say, is really building a young professional hub in Delaware. Like a lot of people think you gotta leave Delaware to be great, or you talk to people from Delaware, the best thing about it is how quick you can get out of here. It's like, oh, we 30 minutes from Philly, we 40 minutes from Baltimore. Okay, well, what about here? Like, who's building something here? So that's what I do outside of my job.
Awesome. That sounds like it's still all things built in Delaware, right? So whether you're doing that in your 9 to 5 or your 5 to 9, it all kind of intertwines in regards to just really keeping business together and all of those things. So my first question for you is, what motivated you to pursue a career that kind of blends government and business? And so that's the first part. Like, what motivated you to pursue that career?
All right, just a show of hands, just so I got the personnel. How many of you have been like the new kid in school? Ever, right? How many of you have lived in a state with no family? All right, so it's a few of us, right? So that kind of motivated me to build the Connect. It's a play on the word. Everybody knows what the Connect means. We just putting a positive spin on the word. For me, when you go to a new environment, you don't know anybody. Anxiety's at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Trust is at an all-time low. You're not sure where to go, who to hang out with, who's genuine, who's not. So the Connect is kind of building a blueprint or a framework or a welcoming environment for somebody that's looking to do more in Delaware. Whether you are HVAC apprenticeship, whether you are, starting your own company, whether you are into life sciences, it's a home for you at the Connect. Because, we know a lot of people, from my work. I've worked for U.S. Senator Carper, Governor Carney, County Executive Meyer now, Governor Meyer. I've seen a lot. I know a lot of people with government. You deal with every industry. And there's no such thing as a master generalist, right? But I know a little bit about a lot of things. So we've been able to connect people to whatever you want to do. I would challenge you to tell me about what you want to do, and I can't connect you to get further in your career or your aspirations.
Awesome, thank you. So we're segueing into that part, your government part, as much as you can talk about. How do government policies and regulations kind of impact the strategic decisions of businesses, like both large and small?
All the time, man. All the time. How many of you know Elon Musk? You heard that name before?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If your hand didn't go up, I'm a little worried. But government regulations is like the game, right? So you're familiar with playing the video game, there's a certain amount of rules. Some of them you can bend, some of them you can get around, but that's the rules, that's the court, that's the field. So it's going to affect everything you do with your business, from how much you can sell something for, from how much you have to pay somebody. There's a reason why we have minimum wage, there are some loopholes around that, especially when you get in the construction side, dealing with, undocumented, people or citizens throughout the United States. But it plays a big role in terms of how you can operate your business. So I think it affects pretty much everything you do with your business, even how you incorporate, the taxes you have to pay. If you wipe government away, you don't have to do none of that stuff. So
yeah. So can you provide examples of businesses that have been successful, kind of navigating those government regulations to innovate or expand their operations, right here in Delaware?
Okay. I'll give you one that I've personally helped. So it's a company called On the Mark Locators. It's a utility mapping company, right? So usually when you're building something in farmland or something like that, you kind of have to test to see what power lines are under the ground, different things like that. And they were doing, how many of you are familiar with payday loans? Have you heard of that before? Just raise your hand.
Yeah.
Right, so that's high interest rate loans. It's almost like a bail bondsman to a certain degree. I can give you this $100K that you need, but I'm gonna put 20% interest rate on it, and I'm gonna tax that monthly. So whatever your interest was after that 20, I'm gonna tax that again each month, and then month in, month out, right? That's a big gamble. That's not something that I would advise anybody doing. But this utility mapping company, because you need a certain amount of funds to bid on certain government projects, they took that out, right? Just so they could have the opportunity to, put their foot in the door. Okay. So they did that. We have a thing called Growing CC Fund, where I really help businesses scale. So I give anywhere between $100K to $1 million in below market rate loans. They took advantage of that. We were able to reconsolidate their bad debt. So now their cash flow went a positive $9K a month. So, over a year, it's $108,000 they just saved. I could hire 3 people right now with $108,000. So,
absolutely.
Just utilizing, different tools that we have allowed them to innovate and grow and continue to do great work for the county.
That's awesome. I love that. So tell me, if you can, a little bit about what that company does, because I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, so utility mapping, right? Yeah. That's all right, let's say, y'all know what Chick-fil-A is. Let's say Chick-fil-A wanted to build in Smyrna, right? And they build in desolate Smyrna. Most of the time there's sewer lines almost everywhere. Yeah. So you can't just go digging. I'm gonna pop a sewer hole and mess up, a whole, suburban neighborhoods sewer system. So utility mapping is what that kind of is. They kind of go out ahead of time. Hey, you want to build here? Well, you'll hire them to figure out what sewer lines, what utilities are already, readily available,
Okay.
rather than you having to pay to install all of that stuff.
Oh,
so it's like
okay.
an advanced team, pretty much, but for
Yeah.
business development.
That's awesome. I never heard of it. So, in the age of social media, how has the relationship between businesses and the public kind of evolved in terms of like communication and brand management, even in regards to like what you see how the government does and gets things out? So, how important, or how do you see it affect that relationship?
It can be your greatest asset or your biggest downfall, I'm sure you all have seen Trump and the election, and how he's utilized social media is amazing. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't vote for him, but what he's been able to do in terms of branding and his businesses by utilizing that platform has been great. It's tough in the sense of you see a lot more companies having to condemn certain acts. You kind of like, if you're a younger company and your personnel is really involved, like, you got to speak out on certain things. You can't just sit back. You seen Microsoft get a big hit when they got rid of DEI, right? So now you got to respond to that on social media in some form, So it puts more pressure on the company, to respond. I'm sure you all have seen it, even if it's not a real company. I know a lot of my little sister does it. She goes to Virginia State. And she does hair, right? But if you get a bad review or somebody say, don't go to my sister no more, like, she be late, she don't be on time, she don't do refunds, you gotta respond to that, right? So social media can play a big impact on your business, and it really comes down to how efficient you are.
You are. So when making the decision to fund these small businesses and companies within Delaware for that economic development, how influential is their social media platform? So is that something that you guys look at, or are you strictly numbers?
That can get tricky. Sometimes we'll look, right? It goes back to, like, if you've been hearing bad reviews. Usually, like, when I'm looking at scaling a company, I look for the 3 C's. So your cash flow. Do you have a positive cash flow? If I asked you, what's your name? Jada? Yeah. If I asked you for $100,000 and my business was losing $4,000 every month, would you give it to me? Negative cash flow, right? I'm not showing that I can demonstrate paying that back. So cash flow is the first one. That's the first C. Collateral. So let's say, what's your name? Curvins. So I need $100,000, right? My company, we generate like $200 a month in positive cash flow. I live in an apartment. I don't have any assets to give you. Yeah. Are you more likely to give me that loan if I had a house, or less likely? More likely. Because I got collateral, right? I got something where if I default on this loan, I come snatch your house, So that's your second C, collateral, right? And then the third is credit. Everybody know what credit is. If your credit score is wonky, it kind of demonstrates that you're not doing well with your finances. Evictions, delinquencies, different things, high credit utilization rate. So those are the 3 C's that we usually look at. I'm not really looking for your social media unless, like, you're looking bad in these streets is the best way to put it.
Okay. All right. So thank you. So I have a question that's kind of geared towards, I guess, student business owners. As a student business owner, right, how would you say, or what should they do when they manage challenges of balancing that entrepreneurship as well as that academic responsibility? And what do you believe are some key skills that they should develop? Okay,
let me make sure I understand the question. So, how do you manage running a business and being a student
Absolutely.
At the same time? It's tough, man. It's tough. I ran an unofficial business. I threw parties. Like, I hosted events in undergrad. I did it through my frat. Shout out to the Noops, you feel me? If it's any Noops, no Noops in here. All right, it's cool. It's cool. By myself today. Used to it.
It's okay. You got somebody sitting next to you that wear the same color. That's right.
So for me, I struggled. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sophomore year, I was an RA. I had just pledged. I pledged my freshman year. what else was going on. I used to work parking services, like the little cashier in the garage, did intramural refereeing. So my GPA, my sophomore year, first semester, was a 1.9. It was trash. I was going through it, but my RHC, I think you used to do that, residential director. Yeah. Always do your research before you go in the room. Just put that out there. She made me sit down and like I had to map out a time, like a time plan. So that's when I learned about Microsoft Word. Y'all ever seen like where it called Smart Art on there? It's like a little, so I had to use that, like the little charts and stuff, and map out how much of a day, like in 24 hours, would I put to different things. So I think that's a super helpful tool. Like if you got a business that you're trying to grow, some people, I've seen people in undergrad, like they do catering. Like they kind of do platters, right? So you can't cook 24 hours a day, you feel me? You gotta go to school.
Yeah.
So, I would probably map it out like, all right, school, let's say that's like 5-6 hours a day. I might put 3 hours into cooking. I might put an hour into like, all right, how I'm gonna set this up? Am I gonna go through Cash App? Am I going through Zelle? Am I going to do cash only? Like, what's going to be my pickup time? You can sort all that out in an hour, and then the rest of your time, you parlay.
Yeah.
But you gotta have it set. You gotta set amount of time. If you don't, you're gonna crash and burn, and you probably won't be here next semester. So.
Yeah. That's good advice. So shifting back into kind of like the role that you do, would opportunities do you have opportunities for student entrepreneurs, or it has to be because they may not be local, or is there opportunities for them to get any assistance, support, or what does that look like?
From Newcastle County, no.
Okay.
We're what I target at the county is like your missing middle. So you got your startup community, right? Your startup community is businesses that either just started or about to start, right? Then you have like your big boys, you got like your Amazons, you got your Insights, like those companies that either are looking to come to Delaware or already here. And then you got this missing middle. So like you have, local stores, they might have started a franchise, might not have, like you got different companies like pickleball. I know y'all familiar with pickleball, stuff like that. That's where I focus. So it's like a business that's been around at least for 2 years. Like I can't really see cash flow on a business that didn't start yet. You feel me? Like you can sell me a pipe dream for all I know. So,
but there has to be.
Yeah. I would think for statewide, you got SBDC. You got Division of Small Business. Some of their regional managers that help out. You got I know at UD they call it the HORN program, HORN Entrepreneurship Program. I mean, I'll help you, I'll help you build your business and talk to you. I just can't give you directly any funding.
Absolutely, because your role is to make sure
it's more
that you build Newcastle County with those existing businesses. So with that, I have about 3 more questions, and then we're going to allow for the students to ask some questions. But I think that this is some great knowledge. I feel like I'm deviating a little bit because of what we're talking about, and I think it's good. So given increasingly, and I'm going to keep merging your experience with the government, your experience with business and economic development. So given the increasingly complex relationship between government policies, business practices, right? How do you think the government can support, outside of what they already do, entrepreneurship and innovation, particularly for young businesses, right?
Yeah, we do a horrible job at that. I'm gonna be honest with you, statewide. I think our biggest pitch competition is about 50K, 100K, right? It's a good amount, but when you're looking at, I would say, those companies that creating like cancer, getting rid of cancer cells, 50K is like dropping a bucket, you talking venture capitalist type of, funding. So I think what we could do better at realistically is wraparound services. So what wraparound services are is, let me try to think of a good example for you. All right, how many people know somebody that got out of prison, like reentry, right? Reentry population, right? So let's say I got out of prison and, the state gives me like a job. Let's say I'm working at let's say I'm working at Chick-fil-A, right? Well, when you come back out of prison, you usually don't have your license. So now you got to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
You usually you don't have insurance when you first start, so now you got to figure that out. So wraparound services usually help with that. It's almost like your social worker.
Yes.
Giving people the necessary tools they need to actually be able to make their job day in, day out. So for entrepreneurs, how many of you all know how to do your own taxes? Oh, we got a couple in here. I'm gonna call y'all. I got something for y'all. I don't know how to do my own taxes, right? I need somebody to do that. And when you first start your business, you're just focusing on your business. You're not worried about all this paperwork, right? So we need to do a much better job in giving those type of services for free.
Yeah.
Right? We need to do a much better job in I think a lot of people don't invest in it, but they should, is content, whether that's photos, videos, brand management. We need to be able to have some of those services in-house that, entrepreneurs can take advantage of, at least when they start, It's not to say every photographer, videographer gonna work for you, but if I don't gotta pay for this, and my product is a product, that could be super beneficial. So we can do a lot better job with wraparound services, to answer your question realistically. Outside of that, we got to put up more funding. It's this thing called gap funding, right? So gap funding is basically where, let's say you need 100K. I'm gonna just keep using that as an easy example. You got 70K, but you need that other 30 to do it. The government should be able to step in and fulfill that, rather than you having to take out some crazy high interest rate loan and, now your business it's not alive anymore. I know y'all got your phones and computers, so if somebody could Google for me how many small businesses last after 2 years, if somebody could Google that for me. So like those wraparound services help with that.
And specifically Black businesses, startup within, not just within Delaware, but I think there is so much. There's a gap in knowledge. There's a gap in funding. There's a gap. You have a need, right? So most businesses will here's a problem that I would like to solve as a young entrepreneur, or this is a passion that I have, but to your point, I don't know how to market that in a way that's going to provide me the opportunity to have a long reach. I don't have the experience or the wherewithal outside of just going on social media and building this platform. So what are some services that could be available to help them do that? So
did anybody look that up? What's your name, boss?
Ryan.
Ryan?
Yes.
What's the answer?
It said every 2 out of 3 businesses
Fail, right? So only 30. So if all of y'all start a business, 1 out of every 3 is even going to be around in 2 years. Something we gotta change.
Yeah. And I think programs such as things that you offer, even in Newcastle County, I know you're kind of like middle, focused on those middle businesses, but to your point, if there was more that can be done for smaller businesses, younger or startup businesses to help, I think that would be a great opportunity.
For sure.
So then I have 2 more questions. Last 2. What advice would you give a student aspiring to break out in your industry, meaning if they wanted to go on the 9-to-5 side first, and then if they wanted to build something like the Connect second? So what would be that advice you would give them?
How many of y'all want to start a business? Okay, all right, decent amount. How many of you all are okay with working for somebody else? All right, same amount. So the first advice I would give is something I learned. I was a psychology and public policy double major, and one thing that was drilled in my head in psychology is just always looking at it from the other person's perspective. So try to think of a decent example. Let's say you got, Ryan, I'm gonna put you on the spot just because I remembered your name. Let's say you got a show, right? Usually you want to make her life easier, right? You're going out, I'm not going to ask you where we're going. I'm just going, I already have a plan in mind.
Yeah.
So that's like, again, being proactive. You got to do the same thing with whatever business you plan on making, whether it's a service or a product. you need to be thinking, how can I make somebody's life easier with this? So it might be a problem. Everybody need their hair done. Everybody need the nails done. You know, everybody needs a car. So maybe your creation is something dealing with one of those, right? And naturally, if you are creating a solution, people gonna want to buy that. People gonna want that service. You know, if you make it somebody feel good, you provide a service, people gonna want to buy that. So you got to think about, what do other people need first. Like, don't just say I'm gonna create a social media platform. We already got one. Why I'm using yours, big dog? Like, there's no reason to. So show me why I should be using whatever you're creating or selling me, versus me just supporting you because you my man. It's like, nah, it don't work like that. It don't work like that. Resiliency is a big thing. I know everybody, has their own story, been through things in life. For me, I got 2 kids. My first kid, I went through that. My son was born December 23rd, 2018. My last day seeing him at that point was December 27th, so he was 4 days old. I ain't see my son again until June 4th, 2019. No pics, no videos, no nothing, right? And for me, like, resiliency was a big thing, like getting through that. So if you're not willing to fight for, whatever it is that you want to do, if you're not willing to, you're going to have an obstacle. Your friends might not support it at first. They might not be reposting, like your product might not work every single time. If you're not built to deal with obstacles, like, don't start a business. Just work for me or work for somebody else that already got a business, That's okay. Everybody can't do it. If everybody was supposed to have their own business, we wouldn't have a word for it. Like, it would just be a natural thing, right? So if you're not resilient, if you're not proactive and making somebody's life better, I would not recommend trying to start a business.
Okay. Thank you. What skills do you believe that they need to cultivate right now, right? Mm-hmm. So while I'm in school, I'm here because I want to be able to learn about business, also have academic success. Mm-hmm. But what are some things that I can do right now that will help me be a successful business owner also?
I think y'all are doing it already and not really realizing it. Get comfortable with asking for help. There's strength and vulnerability. I know, like, as black men, we taught not to. We taught to, like, put up this, like, little front, like we don't need nobody, but we all do, Yeah. I think that's the biggest one, being comfortable asking for help. I think the second one, I'm gonna keep going back to proactive, man. I mean, I really made my career out of that, To be honest with you, if you was to ask me my tangible skill for my job, I'm gonna tell you I don't really got one. It's all soft skills for me. It's being able to talk to people, being adaptive, being determined. That's the biggest thing. Like, being able to, if you was my supervisor and you like, I'm gonna give CJ this problem and I don't gotta worry about it, that's probably the biggest compliment anybody could have for you. You feel me? Like, tell me your name again. Jada, right? So let's say Jada, you had a man, right? I'm just using. If you knew, like, you could call whatever Carlos, I'm just making up a name. I hope I'm not getting you in trouble. Let's say, like, Carlos, like,
educational purposes only.
Yeah, that's my man. Like, if I ask or I need help with this or I need to get my car fixed, it's cool. That's the biggest thing, to be able to be reliable and efficient. Like, that's a big thing. So get comfortable asking for help. Be adaptive and be efficient in whatever you do. Like, those are the 3 biggest things I would tell you to work on, because that'll carry you, whether your product is not even that good. Like, people will continue to use your product just because you go with those 3 qualities.
That is awesome, and I agree. I think that those are the skills that you need to kind of continue to cultivate and have. So I thank you so much for answering all of my questions. And now I'm going to take an opportunity to allow for, I didn't even finish it, right? I didn't even finish it. Allow for our students to ask you some questions now.
Awesome, unfiltered content. All right, let's get it.
I'm a freshman market major this year. Mm-hmm. My question is, In your work with those little companies that you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
Are there any other factors that play a role outside of the issues that you mentioned earlier?
Are there any other factors?
Outside of
Yeah. I mean, you gotta be a decent person. You know, civility, right? If you are, like, I'm gonna be honest, if you're paying to work with, I'm not gonna work with you, right? But that's not something that I would put like on the requirements, like be a good person. You know, I just be like, whatever. I could care less. Outside of that, you know, credibility. Probably the next C I'm gonna just stick with the C's. A web presence. A lot of people, how many people have seen somebody have a business and it'll be like cjsrestaurant@gmail.com, right? It's like, it don't look so professional. You want it to be like cjsrestaurant@cjsoandso.com. A Google domain is $6 a month. You don't got $6, you should not have a business. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, your business probably gonna fail. I would say those are the other additional factors, and I appreciate you being the first person to ask a question. So I got a couple of little merchandise up here for you. I give it to you after we done Q&A.
Okay. Any other questions? Yep. Anybody else?
Yeah, it don't have to be about business. It can be personal growth, mental question, whatever.
Right.
Hi, my name's Belden. I'm a marketing major here at USU. A question that I would like to pose to you is, what has been your greatest motivation to keep going, especially in a world where you are a young black man in a field that you're in, such as the one that you're in?
Yeah, nah, man, my field sucks, man. I'll be honest with you. What keeps me motivated? I would say one big thing is my kids. I have 2 boys. I have a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old. And every time that I found out about I was having a kid, I ended up getting a promotion or I changed jobs, right? So that means my salary went up about 15, 20K, right? Just because, you know, as a, this is for everybody, but in particular for like my black men in the room. The world is your oyster and it can also be your biggest demise. Like, we don't really have that luxury of being able to make more than one mistake. Like, that could change your life, right? And you are looked at as the leader or the provider. So I'm pretty sure any grown woman will tell you, like, the biggest thing that they respect about you is how driven you are. Like, standing in your purpose, standing in 10, you know?
Yeah.
Figuring out what your non-negotiables are and sticking with it. You know, like, that's going to be the biggest thing. Or that's been my biggest thing that has driven me, is being able to say, this is what I'm for. I believe in, you know, God's not gonna put me in any room or situation I can't handle. And I'm a firm believer and I get satisfaction in being able to provide for me and mine. So that's probably the reason why I keep going and I can come here and it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was a big deal to me to come here and just kind of show you all, like, you know, I'm 29, like, you can do this, you know? Like, I got a duplex, you know what I'm saying? I'm learning about Roth IRAs and 529s, you feel me? I have 3 employees right now. Like, how many black businesses have more than 1 employee? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So it can be done, man. Like, and I just want y'all to have it easier than I did and not go through certain struggles that I did.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Or are we good? Well, thank you so much, CJ, for being on Beyond the Lecture podcast. We truly enjoyed you, your candor, and just having the opportunity to be honest and straightforward with them, and also giving them hope to see that at your age, so much that you have done and are still doing. So I am excited to continue to follow your journey and see where you're going to go. And thank you so much.
Cool.
All right.
Appreciate y'all. I'm gonna leave my card and you know, a little way to remember my organization on the table. My cell should be on there. Feel free to text me. I mean, you might have questions, concerns about your business, about navigating undergrad, like how I can be helpful. You know, you just let me know. So thank you again for taking the time out to listen to me.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Lecture. We hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to take your business knowledge to the next level. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries, stay curious, and remember, the learning never stops when you're going beyond the lecture.